Welcome back into the Arrowhead Pride Rapid Reaction Show. I am Steven Serda. I don't know why Ron the Show Hughley is pretending to be frozen right now when I can see him blinking.
I'm not pretending to be frozen. I'm stunned. I am
that
stunned.
that was your stunned face.
I am. Are you? So you could just come out here and just talk like normal. You got the introductions in you. I am just blown away.
I mean, this is how we've been doing these things all season, though. Yeah, we just got to come in. You don't have time to really get your bearings and try to process some of this stuff. You got to just go. And man, oh man, did we have
y'all have not listen, y'all. I listen to the post games and I watch them. Y'all haven't come in after a game like that. Y'all hadn't come in after a fourth quarter like
we
that.
Have not.
To hell with anything. I'm
we
stunned.
Have not. Not all season long have we had a game like that, in my opinion. Man, what a football game, Ron. That is Ron the Show Hughley, stepping up, filling in with me tonight after Thursday night football, an incredible football game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Los Angeles Chargers. Chiefs win it on a walk-off touchdown to Travis Kelce. Kelce went absolutely nuts. He was due 191 yards, 2 touchdowns for Travis Kelce in this football game, including the game-winning touchdown. I don't even know where to start.
This is where we'll start here. By the way, a few things that I want to take. The number one thing from all of this, and I want everybody out there listening, the number one thing from all of this, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to put my foot down here. We are not about to start this Daniel Sorensen celebration as our touchdown celebration, because Travis Kelce at the end of the game did it and did the stupid thing
that's the thing.
No, that's not going to become the thing. If I see Tyreek sliding down doing that stupid Daniel thing or Clyde, no, that's the number one thing. We're going to bury that now. But the thing with this game, I will never forget Gino Auriemma, head coach of UConn. One time they won a game and they talked to him afterwards and he said, hell, we got Diana and they don't. Well, it ain't just one guy. The Chiefs just got way too many dudes. I just tweeted that out after the game ended. They just got too many dudes. And I ain't got to play well, because tonight that offense did not play well, right? And I mean, and then till the fourth quarter happened, and then all hell broke loose, and they said, oh, we need to flip this switch and get it together. Pat's missing throws all over the place. But ultimately what happens there is they got too many dudes that you got to try to handle to make plays with. And especially those three that should be first ballot Hall of Famers when they lock it up. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. They just got too many dudes. And they showed up and showed out in the fourth quarter and overtime tonight.
Yeah, well, and let's get into the offense a little bit, because we were obviously messaging each other during the football game, and Patrick Mahomes had a couple of just very bad throws where Inuasu, linebacker for the Los Angeles Chargers, was just totally reading him from the snap. And multiple times tonight, he was just staring down his first read. And I texted you and I was just like, it feels like the Chiefs overcorrected their offense a little bit. Like early in the season, the turnovers were going absolutely crazy. Obviously, we talked about it a ton. And then they started to slow things down, started using the running backs more, designing screens, things like that, things around the line of scrimmage to try to slow some of the turnovers, to the point where I think it took a little bit away from what makes Patrick Mahomes so special. And that's when he breaks the pocket and gets outside and makes some of these incredible throws. And for really outside of the first 2 drives offensively, basically until that late fourth quarter run, that's kind of how the offense was playing. Like they were a little scared, and Mahomes was making some bad throws, and he was making inaccurate passes, and he was staring down wide receivers. And then in that fourth quarter, Andy said, all right, man, this is what it's about. This is what we got you for. This is who you are. Go out there and do what you do. And he did, and he fed Tyreek Hill, and he fed Travis Kelce. And this is the statement game that we've desperately been needing from the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, it wasn't pretty at times, and you're shorthanded defensively, but it's hard to come away from this football game upset in any way and not assuming that the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC now.
Oh, so you're there because last week you were in here with the Patriots, and I told you what Bill Belichick is bringing to the party and what Andy Reid's bringing to the party. Like, dude, no, they are the best team. And listen, we'll get to this. I said they got plenty of dudes. They did it without 3 of their best dudes on defense, and that defense stepped up. We got to get to them at some point here because that defense was huge tonight. I know they gave up yards. They gave up 28 points. This is the first time they've given up over 20 in 6 games, but I don't give a rip. They were special and kept this team out when they needed to. Even sorry-ass Dan Sorensen, they were special tonight. But listen, you remember the game. I said Chris Jones is out. He's their best defensive lineman. Jarius Sneed is out. He is their best corner by far. And then Willie Gay, which me and you were really concerned about that Austin Eckler matchup, which they didn't really exploit, luckily for the Chiefs. But they had 3 guys at different levels of the defense that were going to be out. And I told you before the game, I said, God, to our guy, the late and great Therese Paylor, I'll never forget, he will say this to me. He goes, hey, sometimes Patrick Mahomes will just have an over my dead body game. And I told you before the game, right? I said, this feels like a game where Patrick Mahomes is going to need to have a over my dead body game. And to be frank with you, before that fourth quarter, Patrick was getting in the car and driving over the Chiefs himself. I mean, he was turning the gun on the Chiefs himself. He was killing the Chiefs. I mean, there were like his refusal to throw touchdowns to McCole Hardman. Literally 3 different times, McCole Hardman was shut up. Don't give me.
That goes back to what I was saying. He was just doing the first reads. He was staring down wide receivers.
Okay, listen. Okay. The first one right down the gut, yes, he was wide open, didn't look at him, then he didn't never even think about it. He was throwing it to Kelsey pre-snap. The second one, he has him wide open. They should be at overtime. He just absolutely just spikes the ball into the turf on 4th down. By the way, way too damn cute for my liking with Andy. But and then he had Hardman on the 2-point conversion. It was the first read. He said to hell with that first read. He never even looked at him.
Well, so I wanted to talk about that play anyways, because he had 2 wide receivers open on or 2 pass catchers open on that read. And he just said no. But that was because the Chargers were jumping those routes tonight, and they were reading him because he was staring him down. So it made him a little gun shy. So he said no. He let Clyde correct the route, and he got Clyde for the 2. So it still counted. We're good.
He never looked at Hardman. He was looking at Tyreek Hill the entire time. He had told himself in his head, I'm going to Tyreek, and looked at him, and then he looked at Kelsey. But my God, whatever. Like I said, he turned the wheel on the Chiefs himself. He was struggling. And there was a part in that fourth quarter where I hadn't seen Travis Kelce get this frustrated. He pissed Travis off on the 2nd down and 5, and he had Travis open, and he spiked the ball into the turf again. And Travis outwardly showed his anger there. And then they, of course, came back and that piano jumped on Travis's back on his way to the 1-yard line, and he couldn't score. But listen, they struggled, but dude, Pat can stink it up for his standards for 3 quarters and then show you why he is the best in the game that we have today. That fourth quarter and overtime, Patrick Mahomes, when he had to make plays, was special. He didn't have it tonight. He wasn't reading anything worth a damn. He didn't, but he had to be special. He did it, and he used those 2 guys that are straight up Hall of Famers. And 2 of the best that we have in the game as well, and they were special.
Damn. Yeah, they needed this game. They needed this performance. They needed this win, and this was going to decide the AFC West. And for a lot of the game, I was like, they are not winning this football game. But that's part of why we had all of this. I can't even think of what to call it, but we assume in every game that the Chiefs, no matter how much they are down, how much they are struggling, that Patrick Mahomes can do that because he has always done that. And this season, he struggled to do that, but he desperately needed a game where he put it all together at the end and won it for them, and he did it tonight. This was that game we were pointing to. And I think we were all upset that the Chiefs defense was not at full strength, that the Chargers weren't even at full strength
Yeah,
because of the
their
COVID
tackle was
issues.
out.
Yeah, because the COVID issues plaguing the NFL. And going into this, we talked about it a lot. Like, this is the game where everybody who's questioning them, everybody who's saying, they've had some weird stuff happen on this winning streak, and that's why they keep winning football games. That's why the defense looks so much better. Like, this was the game where they needed it to happen. And those guys being out, like, can we talk about Spags for a second? Because Spags put out a masterpiece tonight, as far as I'm concerned. I understand.
I think masterpiece is a bit strong, but hey, they stepped up when they needed to. Because we're going to be honest. I mean, the Chargers were running all over their asses, and Justin Herbert was getting stuff. But when they needed to, we'll get to Brandon Staley. Like, come on now, hey man, you got to check back just a few times. Like, my God, I'll give it to Brandon Staley. He said, "Damn it, I'm gonna let it hang, and I'm gonna let that thing hang all night long. All right, I'm gonna do it." Except for he didn't go for 2. I mean, hell, why not? But no, like. Spags, I wouldn't say masterpiece, Serda, but he was. But what they needed to do in a big way, they were able to do when they needed to on all those 4th downs, and then the drive at the end. Because Serda, I know we'll get to a lot of stuff here, and I know I'm jumping around. I don't give a rip. When Justin Herbert had the ball with 1:20 left, and I think they got to get a field goal. Oh hell. I mean, what they've been doing all game was moving the ball in between the 20s.
Wow. So
I thought that.
I side with Brandon Staley on this. Go for it on the 4th downs. I'm totally fine with it because I don't think that you necessarily need to operate against this Chiefs team that way this season, as we have seen teams do, because they simply haven't been as explosive. They simply haven't been as consistent offensively as we're used to them being. And so you don't have to operate that way. But I don't have a problem operating that way in a game like this, where you come into this game saying, this is going to decide the division. Like, if we sweep the Chiefs, we are going to win the AFC West. And so I don't have a problem with Brandon Staley being ultra aggressive throughout the entire game. Like, I love that approach. I wish more coaches would do that. Like, the Chiefs don't even attempt 2. That was only their second 2-point conversion attempt of the season, I believe. Like, I would like to see Andy do some of that stuff. So I don't disagree with the 4th down play calls, but they just didn't execute them and it didn't work. And so we're going to talk about those field goals that they left on the table a lot, probably over the next couple of days. But when it comes down to it, yeah, the Chiefs defense, shorthanded, missing some of their best players, they came up big and they made plays. Nick Bolton was absolutely lights out tonight. Like, Nick Bolton came into this game and said, all right, I'm trying to make sure some people outside of Kansas City know who Nick Bolton is after this football game. And he did that. He was fantastic tonight. Like, it was his best game as a professional. And with Willie Gay out and the massive improvements that he's made since he's come into that defense, you couldn't have asked for more out of Nick Bolton. He was absolutely incredible tonight.
No, and they needed him because, I was, like I said, man, I think the Chargers dropped the ball. I don't completely agree with the field goal things. I respect his aggressiveness. The one at the end of the half, especially, to me, I think you got to take the points there. You got to take the points there and go. There were just points where I think it was becoming very obvious that this wasn't a game where the Chiefs offense was just going to run up and down the field on you, right? Like, your defense was doing stuff where, boy, if they got a 2-score lead, like, it may be difficult, but by the way the Chiefs were playing. So I think a couple of those field goals he probably should have taken. But as you said, this Chiefs defense, I don't want to specify this, man, or drop this enough. Like, they're playing without their best player, in my opinion. I think Chris Jones is their best defensive player, and we've seen him wreck and ruin games. The Dallas Cowboy game, he absolutely ruined the game. They do not win the game if he's not there. And look, I'm gonna disagree a little bit with Troy Aikman. Like, listen, I love Chris Jones. Like, I don't know if Chris Jones is stopping that run game. I mean, he may have jumped in there a couple of times, but I'm telling you, boy, Chris Jones would have been out there taking some chances and leaving holes wide open behind him. If I know 9-5. But I think there were some big pressures that you missed out on with him on Justin Herbert. So I think that's a big key, missing out. But man, when you can buckle down, like we've said this for years, Serda. field goals with this Chiefs offense are wins. If you can hold an offense like the Chargers to field goals, they're wins. And they set themselves up a bunch of times to hold them for field goals, but Brandon Staley was out here just shooting dice
He was
out in this
going
bad
for
boy,
tutties.
going for broke, and just getting killed every single time. But what was it? 4 times they stopped them, including a huge turnover where Tashawn Wharton comes in and knocks the ball out as they were. I mean, 4 different times they were in the red zone, and not just held the red zone, they were inside the 10. And not only did they not score or give up field goals, they didn't give up points. Enormous. I mean, and they kept playing with the Chiefs offense just screwing them over. That interception passed through, like, God, man.
And that was in Iwasu. That was the second time he had just read Pat pre-snap and knew exactly where he was going. He almost picked off the first one. So, and then he went back to it again. And he was right there. Yeah. And Pat pulled it back and said, nope, I'm not doing that again. But just to highlight again how special Nick Bolton was tonight, from our guy Ron Kopp at ArrowheadPride.com. Nick Bolton with a team-leading 14 total tackles, 3 passes defended, including one that led to an interception, and one that was a stop on the 4th down pass attempt. Like, he was absolutely special for them tonight. Like, he was fantastic. He was the highlight of the football game for me, I think, outside of that 4th quarter run that the Chiefs went on to actually put the game away and walk out of that thing with the win. But again, that was also, they were struggling with Chris Jones out of the game to put pressure on Justin Herbert all night. Like, they still had their moments, but part of the reason why I think this was like a Spags masterpiece is Spags said, to hell with it. We don't have Chris Jones. Yeah. I'm dialing up pressure any way I possibly can. I'm going to blitz Justin Herbert. I don't care if he's got an incredible arm and he's going to beat me sometimes. That's how we're going to get to him, and that's how we're going to try to get some sacks tonight. Because without Chris Jones, it's what they had to do.
The fearlessness. Like, I don't know. Like, I gotta believe that Spags was just ignoring that Mike Hughes was lined up in single coverage with Mike Williams, just on all these blitzes, and just saying, I'm just going to ignore it. All right, that's not over there. That's not over there, because that's what I'm sitting there thinking is just
better get to him fast.
Just throw it up. Just to buy a little time and just throw it up, because he jumps over everybody. But it didn't. But you're right. Like, stick to it. And he just said, F it, man. I'm sending them all every time. I'm going to send them, and get your hands up and knock them down, and I'm going to send them. I just like those moments, man. 4th downs, 3 different times they go for 4th down, and they stop them to get the ball over, especially at the end of the half, which you felt like really changed things, because the Chargers really had the momentum then. And then the fumble that they got, and that I cannot emphasize enough, dude. At the end, when the Chiefs score and they tie it up at 28, it's a minute 20-something left, and they got Justin Herbert. I remember I tweeted out, I said, well, Herbert, it's your turn. Like, this thing was feeling like Montana and Elway in 93 or whatever that was on that Monday Night Football game in Denver. Like, it's your turn, except these guys aren't 40. But I'm looking at this, and I'm like, dude, and they just got to get in field goal range, man. That's all they got to do, is to get in field goal range. And I thought that was going to happen, but Charvarius Ward didn't lose his mind when he was down by himself. And I think you never know. I thought he was just going to reach out and grab him, but he didn't lose his mind. And they played, and they stopped them. And hell, they even gave Patrick 17 seconds with 3 timeouts to try to get in field goal range. That was special by that defense tonight. I don't give a rip how many yards they got. That was special tonight.
Well, and that Charvarius Ward play with Keenan Allen that was not flagged, I was shocked they didn't throw a flag on that. I
think it was the right call.
And it's it's a game costing play if they do throw the flag there. And I was shocked that they didn't do it. But yeah, the Chiefs defense held up on that final possession and forced overtime. And then once Patrick Mahomes hit Travis Kelce in the open field tonight, Travis Kelce was just unstoppable. He needed this game. Travis needed this game bad. Coming off those 2 performances where he had 27 yards in back-to-back games, Travis needed this game.
Yeah, he had 1 touchdown in the last 8 or 9 weeks. He needed. But man, that dude's the best tight end in football, and it's gonna come. And And obviously it did in a major way where he almost hit 200 yards, right? Another year where he's over 1,000 yards. I think they said on the telecast that at 8 straight years where he's over 850 yards. My God, it's just absolutely ridiculous that he is. I will say, as we're talking about this defense, Serda, I I got to give him credit, man. Maybe the masterpiece part of what Spags did tonight was Daniel Sorensen was big tonight. Like he stepped up in a big way tonight. Like he knocked down one of the passes on fourth down because Keenan Allen was dead open, and it would have been a touchdown if he got it through him. But he knocked down a pass. He was good in coverage at times. Like there was a play on that last drive where, like Mike Hughes helped him out in a major way, but Dan was there to defend that and got over there. Like Dan Sorensen played and I know he got an interception for a touchdown against Denver, but that was the best game I've seen Dan play in 2 years. Like Dan was all around in a big way, and you knew he was going to be on the field a lot tonight because one, I mean, Spags loves him, and two, they had situations and issues where I knew he was going to be playing a lot of nickel and playing in that linebacker position, and he was big. He was big. He was big tonight, but like this is like real quick, just overall, right there. This is why when people worry about the Chiefs, and I'm like, hey man, these guys sort of have been through too many games. Too many games. They don't panic, even if they're playing bad. They don't panic. And right here, they showed it, man. Like they are fine. They are battle tested. They've been to back-to-back Super Bowls, 3 straight AFC Championship games, and they played in every big game imaginable. And they're never gonna panic. And they always believe they got a shot and got a chance. And their dudes step up and make plays. This is why when you're going to tell me you're going to bring, and I'm getting on my soapbox, you're going to bring Mac Jones to the party and you think he's going to stop this. You're going to bring Ryan Tannehill to the party and you think his ass is going to stop this. No chance. These guys have been here many, many times, and they showed this again. Calm down, don't worry. Like, I hate this, but I think the Chiefs are a team that can flip the switch. They flipped that sucker in the fourth quarter. I don't think it's wise for them to live and die on that, but they can. And this is just another example why this team is battle tested, and you got to give them a little credit. And just they're struggling. They'll get there.
Well, and I think that's been a big problem with them over the last couple of years, really, during the regular season, is that, yeah, they can flip the switch. It just leads to sometimes them making a lot of bad mistakes and not executing properly and just looking kind of out of sorts, which is kind of how they've looked offensively a lot of the year. But again, I think that comes back to the turnovers and the mistakes early in the season where we saw they were still moving the ball at a really high, efficient rate, and they kept turning the football over and they kept hurting themselves. Then came the overcorrection where, okay, now we dusted off the Alex Smith playbook. We're going to play around the line of scrimmage. We're going to design screens. We're going to run the football more. And that overcorrection, I think, made Mahomes kind of forget, like, oh yeah, but this is what makes me special. Like, let me get outside the pocket and keep my eyes downfield, because he stopped doing that. And we've talked about it a ton over the last few weeks. He was getting the ball out as fast as any quarterback in the NFL because the Chiefs were just dialing up short stuff around the line of scrimmage to try to help slow down the turnovers. And it has, but that quick read offense you saw get exposed a little bit tonight by the Chargers because Mahomes wasn't scanning the field. He was staring down wide receivers and he got burned on it a couple of times. And so then once the fourth quarter rolled around, it was like, oh yeah, this is that offense again. Tyreek Hill had his first 100-yard game since week 4 of the NFL season. It is worth mentioning Tyreek Hill did leave the game for a little bit towards the end. I didn't see a specific injury designation or what he was dealing with. I thought it felt like he was cramping or something.
Yeah, it was something with the leg, and they were stretching him out, and he was. But then he came back in and caught a huge second down play. I mean, it felt like that's who it was. It was Kelsey and him on that final drive because it felt like Pat wasn't throwing to anybody else. So it felt like that was the case. But he came back in and made big plays down the stretch, even after they stretched him out there. I hope, because I think you brought up a really good point there, Serda, is like you hope that this is something that really helps them find themselves, find this offense that in that
Yeah.
second half when they
I think
just
they've been
said to
trying to
hell
do
with
it
it.
all year.
Yeah, I think they said to hell with it, and like that looked like them, right? Like let's go and make big plays. There was a big pass play down the field that he threw to Tyreek, and Tyreek was interfered, but he caught it. But hell, just throw it, man. Like that's what you guys do. Sometimes y'all gotta just. We said this last week on the podcast. Sometimes y'all gotta just say F it and throw it because this is you. And it looked like to me, and Joey Bosa was helping because he was. I mean, it, I mean, awful pass rush integrity from Joey Bosa. I mean, he just continued to give up the edge and allowed Patrick Mahomes to run out to the side that Patrick Mahomes wants to run out to. Like he was just helping him out. But that's what they do. Like it looked like Pat was seeking to get out of the pocket so he could go and make plays and be this Chiefs offense. And you would hope if you're Chiefs fans that maybe this shook things up a bit to make them bring themselves back to what it is that they do.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and watch it, but I think in overtime, Mahomes did the same thing like 3 times in a row
Yeah,
where
he just waited
Bo
for Bosa to come up the
yeah,
field hard.
Bosa just came flying in like a wrecking ball, and Mahomes just stepped up and then ditched the pocket, ran to his right, and made a fantastic throw. Like, that's when he's at his best, when he can improv, when he can just get outside the pocket and make throws. And that's when Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are at their best, because that's when we talk about how Andy kind of gives them the freedom to just, okay, you got options on your route, just go get open. And that's how you maximize the talent of those players. And that's something that the offense has really been lacking because of the turnover issues and the overcorrection to try to mitigate the turnovers a little bit. This was the first time all year, I feel like, and I don't count the Raiders games. This was the first time all season where I was like, okay, this is that offense. This is that offense that, and the defense, the way they played without Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed and Willie Gay. Like, if this defense, once they're fully healthy and they're good to go, if this offense can do that and turn it on and win football games when they absolutely have to, it's the best team in the AFC.
No, it is, and I stood by that. I said to myself, maybe they're not playing like the best team in the AFC, but you look up now, they've won 7 straight games. Maybe not playing like the best team in the AFC and the Patriots. But I've just said to myself, if the Patriots are the team that is standing in the way and the team that they got to beat and overtake, I don't give a damn what Bill Belichick does. And he's great. When Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce flip the switch to go Nutsville, he can't stop it. He never has been able to stop it. He didn't stop it when he was here in 2018. He just happened to have Tom Brady on his team. He didn't stop it other year. I mean, he didn't stop when Alex Smith kicked off the season one year after those guys all went nuts, the same 3 guys that I'm talking about. He didn't stop it when the Chiefs went down and beat him the Super Bowl year in New England. He has not stopped them when they decide to go nuts, and he does not have enough on the other end to match this go nuts because he doesn't have Brady anymore. I'm gonna tell you what. I'll be honest with you. If you have listened to me before, Serda, I didn't have any pants on in the fourth quarter. When I get excited, pants fly off. I don't even know how to like. I know I don't own a pair of tearaway pants like you used to in basketball. Like
you don't own any?
I don't know. I
Do
don't
they
know
still
what
make those? I don't own any either.
I think so. I think at Just for Feet you could still get them, but I don't know how my pants came off, but I ripped them. I ripped them off like that, and they were just gone. And I'm literally in my drawers currently. I have
just
not.
ruined. The pants are just ruined.
Maybe so. I don't know. I'm not. I don't have any pants on at all. At all. I don't.
Okay.
I'm looking at Brandon Staley right now, man. He's got to be. Come on, man. You didn't lift 9 points on that board, man.
I appreciate you sharing that. Brandon Staley, don't ever kick field goals again. I don't care what the haters say. Do your thing, my guy. I thought that you coached a good football game. And Justin Herbert, we got to give him a little bit of love here. Like, Justin Herbert was fantastic tonight too. He was. Justin Herbert is a special NFL quarterback, and watching him and Mahomes do this for a long time is going to be a ton of fun. But
I disagree with the fantastic. He was cool. I mean, he's 22 or 38 for 236 in a pick with 2 touchdowns. I I'm sorry. I expect Justin Herbert against that Chiefs defense, no pass rush, Mike frickin' Hughes. I expect him to get his team in field goal range with 2 timeouts in a minute 22, and he didn't even get it close. They had to punt. So I'm sorry, man. He was good, but I mean,
well, and I mean, if they get some of these fourth down calls, we're talking about a very different football game. But
he was a part of it.
Justin Herbert is a very, very special player. So my final takeaway from this football game is that the Chiefs are back, and this team is ready now. Like, they needed this game. They needed to prove it against an upper echelon team in the AFC, because we keep making excuses as to why they've got on this run, why they put this together, and why the defense has made this turnaround. This was the game where if you won this game, no matter how you played, with how shorthanded you were on defense, if you found a way to win this game, you're back, and you have to fear them the way that you felt them the last 3 years. And that's where I'm at right now. That is who they are, because the AFC is absolutely wide open, and the Chiefs have won 7 in a row, and they just put on one of the best football games, or more entertaining football games, at least, of the entire NFL season, in my opinion. That game was absolutely riveting, and the Chiefs are back.
Yeah, it was a game of the year. I think my final takeaway, Serda, is the defense, and this defense is real. I'm not going to say the E word, elite, but this defense is real. What they did with those 3 guys out, and they're 3 of their best guys, right? Like, I think Tyrann Mathieu was the best guy in the secondary, but I think you can argue that Snead is right there with them, especially their best corner. And then I think Willie Gay has been their best running, or their best linebacker, and then obviously Chris Jones, I think, is their overall best defensive player. They've had some real fortunate things occur in this stretch of games where their defense has spun it around. You know, they played Daniel Jones and the Giants and Judge Joe Brown, who throws up all over himself every Sunday. They played the Packers without Aaron Rodgers, so that's a completely different team. They played the Raiders right after their receivers were all hurt and their coach got fired, and the Henry Ruggs situation. They got the Cowboys without their left tackle. Amari Cooper went down with COVID, and then CeeDee Lamb couldn't play in the second half. They got the Broncos when you get to play Black Chad Pennington. That's enough said. All right. And then they play the Raiders again, who struggled. This was a game where you're like, all right, is this defense really good? Because this is one of the real elite offenses in the game. Elite quarterback, great receivers, great skilled guys. Can they hold up against them? Not only did they hold up, they made special big-time plays without those 3 guys. This defense is elite. Or not elite. This defense is for real. Let me get that right.
You can say elite. You can say elite.
I'm not saying
it's
it.
Fine.
I'm not ready to go there. This defense is for real. And I got to pull back on the thing. We've talked about this. I said, man, I just don't think the Chiefs can get to where they want to get to, and this defense be the best part of their team. I'm going to have to rethink that a little bit, because this defense is capable of carrying them against good teams. And I think that's something they showed today.
Again, Chiefs win in overtime on a walk-off 34-yard touchdown from Travis Kelce, who went absolutely nuts in the fourth quarter in overtime to put the Chiefs ahead and atop the AFC West, definitively over the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs improved to 10-4 with a 7-game win streak, and they've got the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town on December 26th. This was a fun one. This was
the game of the year.
Yeah,
right?
This game lived up to everything that we hoped it would be. COVID did not impact it the way it is impacting a lot of the NFL, and it was fantastic. It was just a brilliant football game put on by 2 great head coaches and 2 fantastic young quarterbacks. Yeah. So
they may see this team again.
Yes, and they could easily see this team again. So make sure you're following Ron Hughley at Real Ron the Show on Twitter. I'm Steven Serda. That's where you can find me. As always, please make sure that you subscribe, rate, and review everything that we are doing on the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network. Ron having himself a nice celebratory Michelob Ultra at the end of the pod. I like it. I don't have any beer. I still got work to do after this show. But thank you guys so much for listening. Make sure you're locked in the Arrowhead Pride Podcast Network for the rest of the weekend. Got Best Of dropping on Saturday morning to hold you over until Monday, as the Chiefs will turn towards the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll talk to you then.